Good morning from Yami B TV. Wishing you all well, of course. Now, we are talking about Thomas CASHMAN in this early morning video with the breaking news that possibly and allegedly he may have committed another offence whilst residing in the Category A HM high risk security estate of HMP Long Lartin, where I spent a number of years there, as you know, if you probably followed my story. And I like to, in the best way possible for us all, and see if you agree and see if you don't. So it is alleged that they raided Thomas CASHMAN's cell, right? Found an iPhone, some contraband, maybe with suggestion of cannabis, and maybe a little bit of cocaine, right? So he's not on protection with Thomas CASHMAN, as we realised, right? There was an incident a couple of months ago where he might have got attacked once or twice, not in an absolute massive way, because he's still walking up and down, and he hasn't gone on protection, if we are to believe those stories and their rumours. And I believe some of you are telling me there is evidence online that he did get an attack. Now, Thomas CASHMAN convicted of the murder of young Olivier from Liverpool, right? And the attempted murder of her mum, attempted murder of the man he was trying to get in some formal way, where he put a gun to him further away from Olivier and her family's home and chased him. That other person he was chasing was the one who ran into that house, and it is alleged that CASHMAN chased him in there, right? So in reality, right, you're asking me, how come if he killed a little girl, why isn't he on protection? Look, prison doesn't really run the same way as it once did, and it hasn't done for about 25, 30 years. There are a lot of men that are convicted of spraying machine guns, firing guns in crowded places, and don't hit their intended target, or hit their intended target, but hit innocent bystanders. The difference is with CASHMAN, he hit a young girl, right? Did he go out of his way with the intention to shoot young Olivier that day? It has to be stated, balanced up fairly, he didn't. But we know using guns and in the wrong hands and in the wrong game, as in the criminal life we talk about so freely on Yami B TV, things can go wrong. And it went badly wrong, right? Now, the second question you're asking me is, how's he allowed, if he is, to have an iPhone, access to all these things, by way of probably drones being flown into those Category A prisons we talked about sometime before on Yami B TV. So that's the way they're coming in. Now look, if he was selling drugs, or it is alleged that he's caught with some, and they're saying he was selling drugs quite regularly and making money whilst he's serving the sentence for such a massive public, crime. What is not unusual from my experiences is that men like that, and probably men of other walks as well, in for crimes that really it's frowned upon, it's not unusual for them to be able to, or want to, sell drugs, to have some kind of power and control over their situation and control over many that are around them. He is not silly, not that silly. He will know that by having these things, he could be paying addicts or paying people word on the street. He'll get to hear if anything's coming to get him by way of attack, probably quicker. But if he was a dealer and that kind of stuff, you'll get the news first who's plotting and planning, because you've got that element of control, right? As in, if you didn't have all that, you wouldn't have as many so-called friends, because as we know, there's a market when there's things going around and they won't care about what crime you're in, what you're in for. And they will go, yeah, Thomas said, yeah, I'll do that for you. Oh, yeah, you know what? Sadly, some addicts are like. But in general, if you have access to mobile phones coming through and you can help others that are not addicts but would want an iPhone and keep in touch with the real world. So you'll gain friends. They're simple because you're somebody that people might need at the time. And you're good for the economy in those prisons, right? Push all the politics behind them. The sad politics that a young girl died. Now, what strikes me is when I was in the CAs, which was quite a while back now, quite a few years, you wouldn't be able to have an iPhone because they had blockers and signal things where they could pick up the networks and see where it was coming from. So the only phones that I ever saw in the category A's was those little plastic Zancos because they weren't metal and they don't show, you know, like certain things when they implemented, what is it called? The Boss chair, where you sit on it and it makes a noise and it indicates that you got something up your bum, right? And I believe there's a thing you walk through and they can see certain things. So surprising that you could ever think that you can get iPhones in category A prisons now because of the high level of security and up to the time with the most high value equipment that can pick up on these things of iPhones and that kind of stuff and drones. And so it shows me that things have changed. Or is it the criminal can counteract with the equipment that they have to say where the signal's coming from, what network it is, that they put blockers all around the fence and the gates that so you can't, when you phone, get a signal. So it's not going to be of no value to you by having phones or whatever. Do they find a new network that can't be picked up on by the security levels of the category A's and the high security? Is there always a step away and forward, a way out to counteract what the authorities and security people can do? It seems to be the way, all right? So that's the best I could do on this one this morning. But my, times have changed, but not changed with people in vulnerable positions involved in cases that really, when you go to bed at night, people say, you know, but they play along with it because it's probably a market. So that's the best I can do. I'll be up a little bit more later on.